easier to be androgynous instead of like an actual, transgender person and like messing with your body on a biological level like I did for 7 months. And the best thing you can do is just like be who you are and stop giving a fuck about what everybody else thinks about you. But anyways, welcome back to the Pondering Piscean. Yes, the fish is still swimming around, and today is February 19th. My birthday is approaching very, very soon. I'm very excited. Mercury is in my sign. I feel great. Venus is in my sign, exalted. Guys, we're going to go over Zodiacal releasing in this video. Because I've talked about Zodiacal releasing in like another video, but I actually just wanted to come back to it and a few other things. Like this podcast is an advanced astrology podcast. And if you have no idea what astrology is, if you have no idea what your sun sign is actually doing, if your sun may be exalted in Aries and Leo or debilitated in Aquarius and Libra, we can study these things, we can analyze these things, and we can actually predict how you're going to get wealthy as an individual. Subscribe, like, comment. That's what this channel is for. Now, I'll be honest, I think the reason that I only have, as of February 19th, 2026, I have like 97 subscribers. And I think that's because my story isn't reaching the people that I want it to quite yet. I mean, it is, but I need a bigger audience to approach, right? But everyone has a story. And everyone, whether you're Caucasian or you're African American, it seems like your story's just going to get bottled into the algorithm. When you're posting online, when you're a content creator, that's of course the case, but with a bunch of hashtags and promoting your videos elsewhere like Instagram, TikTok even, it's just so much, it actually, it wears me out. It does, but I love talking about astrology, and I just realized it when I wish I would have realized it sooner, because for so long, and this is why I get mad at fucking dumbasses who are like, astrology goes against my religion. Okay, your religion goes against mine. Let's play that game. Because everything, yes, it's fucking political. Sure. We can get into political astrology and electoral astrology and explain why every president has been Caucasian. Using advanced astrology, I am telling you can see racism. I just made a video about the ICE agents in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Shit that probably would get me killed. Because people think that this is funny. People are like, well, astrology this, my sun is in Virgo, suck my dick. Well, okay. To that I say, ignorance is not bliss, and you do yourself a disservice not learning your astrology. Because if I would have known the shit that I know about myself due to my, not only my Western chart, but also my Vedic sidereal chart, if I would have known this shit before I said, hey, I need to take testosterone to become a man for 7 months, and even before that, date people that even identified as such a way, men wanting to be women, nothing new. In fact, throughout history, using astrology in the archetypes of the planets, we can see clear as day that Mercury is simply more than an androgynous planet nowadays. Mercury ruling Gemini and Virgo. Very feminine signs. But the thing that people don't understand with astrology is we are all playing out all 12 of the signs at once. It's a matter of your own snapshot in the universe. In this dimension, this human puppet dimension, I've talked about this before. So, a few different things I'm going to go over in like a few other videos, just because I'm not sure how long we're going to go, but I feel like I should make this video way longer. So we're going to talk about just the advanced astrological history of zodiacal releasing. Going from like Hellenistic Time Lord techniques to modern practice. And I also wanted to talk about the history of the yod. If you have no idea what the yod is in astrology, it's time to subscribe. It's time to lock in. The finger of fate, from Kabbalah to contemporary practice. I want to save a few things in my back pocket, so I'm not going to expose everything I have coming. But we'll start with zodiacal releasing and just talk about how we got to where we are now with the term. So, among the most sophisticated predictive techniques recovered from the ancient astrological tradition, zodiacal releasing stands as a monumental achievement of Hellenistic astrological thought. And this method of time planetary distribution, known in the original Greek as ephesis, meaning sending forth or release, represents one of several Time Lord techniques used by ancient astrologers to identify significant periods or chapters in a human life. Unlike simpler predictive methods that merely suggest general tendencies, zodiacal releasing offers a granular framework for understanding the unfolding of fate across decades, with the capacity to divide a lifetime into main periods, sub-periods, and even smaller increments of meaning. So the term zodiacal releasing itself, it's a modern construction coined by Robert Schmidt during the groundbreaking translation work of Project Hindsight in the late 20th century. In the ancient sources, primarily the writings of the 2nd century astrologer Vitellus Valens, referred to this technique simply as part of the broader category of profection methods, wherein time progresses through the zodiac according to specific measured increments. So now we are going to trace the advanced historical development of zodiacal releasing from its origins in the Hellenistic world through its eclipse and eventual recovery in the modern era, examining both the technical evolution of the method and the scholarly efforts that have restored it to contemporary practice. So, in terms of the timeline for it, we'll just go off of like key historical milestones in the development and recovery of it. So, in the 2nd century CE, Vitellus Valens wrote an anthology documenting ephesis technique, also known as zodiacal releasing. In the 7th century CE, there was a decline of Hellenistic astrology as a practice because it was lost, section, modern recovery. And in the 1990s, there was Project Hindsight beginning. There's translation of Greek texts. In 2007, Robert Schmidt published audio tutorial on the method. 2017, Chris Brennan published a comprehensive study in Hellenistic astrology. In present day, people like Demetra George, Austin Kopok, These other people in astrology teach the technique widely. All right. Honestly, maybe it's better that I have 97 subscribers because I have Mercury in Pisces and I can't be asked to correct myself in every video. I'm trying the best I can. Like, after what happened to me, I just stumble over myself. Like, my throat feels so weird. And I try my hardest to drink water and... But yeah. So, the origins in Hellenistic astrology. We talk about the Babylonians, of course. Not my first rodeo. But my notes are different. So, to even understand... Hang on a second. Alright, so to understand zodiacal releasing, one must first appreciate the cosmological framework within which it emerged. The zodiac itself, that belt of sky extending approximately 8 degrees on either side of the ecliptic. Alright, it was first systematized by Babylonian astronomers around 400 BCE during the Persian rule of Mesopotamia, likely within a few years of 401 BCE. Babylonian scholars divided the ecliptic into 12 equal signs of 30 degrees each, creating the first known celestial coordinate system. This innovation marked what the Zodiac Research Project at Freie Universität Berlin has termed a mathematical turn in astral sciences, enabling the precise calculation of planetary positions and ultimately the development of predictive astrological techniques. So from Babylonia, the zodiacal science spread to Egypt and the Greco-Roman world, where it underwent significant elaboration. By the 2nd century BCE, Greek astronomers had adopted the Babylonian division, and by the 1st century BCE, horoscopic astrology, the practice of casting charts for specific moments of birth, had emerged in Ptolemaic Egypt. The famous Dendera zodiac, dating to approximately 50 BCE, provides the first known depiction of the classical 12-sign zodiac and testifies to the synthesis of Egyptian, Babylonian, and Greek astrological traditions. It was actually within this rich cross-cultural matrix that the technique of zodiacal releasing developed, right? The Hellenistic astrologers, working primarily in Alexandria and other Mediterranean intellectual centers, inherited from Babylonian tradition not only the zodiac, but also the conceptual framework of planetary periods. The idea that different spans of time could be governed by different celestial rulers. The foundational text for zodiacal releasing is the anthology of Aetius Valens, a 2nd century CE astrologer who practiced in Antioch and perhaps Alexandria. Valens compiled a comprehensive collection of astrological teachings, including numerous example charts and detailed explanations of predictive techniques. So his 4th book of it, the anthology, the 4th installment, it contains the most extensive surviving treatment of what we now call zodiacal releasing. Though Valens' most extensive though Valens himself did not give the technique a distinct name, okay, he treated it instead as one among several methods for determining the quality and timing of life periods. So Valens drew upon earlier sources now lost to us, including the work of the 1st century BCE astrologer Thrasyllus, who served as a court astrologer to the Roman Emperor Tiberius, which if you haven't seen my other videos, we talk about this. The technique likely underwent centuries of development before reaching the form documented in the anthology, representing the accumulated wisdom of multiple generations of astrological practitioners. Let's talk about the mechanics of ancient offices, the lots of fortune and spirit. Yes, the zodiacal lots in zodiacal releasing. But not really, it's more like the Arabic lots, right? So, at the heart of zodiacal releasing lies 2 mathematical points derived from the birth chart. The part of fortune, the POF, the part of spirit, POS, also called the lot of the daemon. These lots, or pots, were fundamental to Hellenistic astrology, representing different dimensions of the native's existence. The part of fortune associated with the moon governed bodily health, material circumstances, and worldly fortune. The part of spirit associated with the sun governed vocation, purpose, and the essential nature of the soul. The choice of which slot to use as the starting point for releasing determines which domain of life the technique illuminates. Releasing from the POF reveals periods related to health, wealth, and material conditions. Releasing from the POS, again, part of fortune, part of spirit, okay? The POS reveals periods related to career, life direction, and the unfolding of one's essential purpose. In fact, one's natal promise, if we really want to deem it that. So ancient practitioners likely use both, creating complementary narratives of the native's life trajectory. Now we explore our planetary periods and zodiacal progression, meaning the technical operation of zodiacal releasing. It involves moving through the signs of the zodiac in succession from the sign containing the chosen law. Alright? So each sign distributes a specific period of time determined by its planetary ruler, what the Hellenistic astrologers called the minor periods, or short periods of the planets. And these periods were derived from astronomical cycles and allocated as follows. So, planet years, allocated months, allocated, whatever. Saturn, 30 years, 30 months. Jupiter, 12 years, 12 months, and it goes on. Mars, 1515. Sun, 1919. Venus, 8 years, 8 months, and so on. Mercury, 20. Moon, 25. Capricorn, 27. And Aquarius, 30. So, Valens made special provision for Aquarius and Capricorn due to the unique characteristics of the rulers, Saturn's dual rulership, allocating different periods for these signs. The method proceeds through multiple levels of division. So the first level, it distributes main periods measured in years, typically encompassing 4 to 6 major chapters in a lifetime. And I've already I haven't even gone through a Saturn return, and I look at my voice. What's going to happen during my first Saturn return? I might lose my voice for the rest of my life. I don't know. I hope not. But with testosterone and with smoking as much as I do, unfortunately, it's terrible. I don't even sound like a girl anymore. I know, but I have boobs and I have a vagina, and it's crazy what steroids will do to females. We try to get it more moister, but I also have to stop smoking. Holy shit. Alright, there's my voice. So our second level, we divide each main period into sub-periods measured in months, following the same sequence of signs and their planetary rulers. Mercury in shadows getting my voice in Pisces. Level 3 and level 4 provide even finer subdivisions, creating a nested hierarchy of temporal meaning that allows the astrologer to analyze life with extraordinary precision. God, it all just wants to come up. It's just terrible. God. The loosing of the bond. One of the most conceptually sophisticated elements of zodiacal releasing is the phenomenon known as the loosing of the bond. Aisis tau desmau in Greek. And this occurs when the months allocated to the minor periods, so the minor periods, which total 211 months or 17 years and 7 months, are insufficient to fill a major period that exceeds this duration. Signs such as Gemini, 20 years, Cancer, 25 years, Leo, 19 years, Virgo, 20 years, Capricorn, 27 years, and Aquarius, 30 years, all require more time than the minor periods can provide. When the situation arises, the method requires a shift to the opposite sign of the zodiac, resuming the distribution of minor periods from that point. Valens described this as breaking the obligation to proceed in fixed zodiacal order, and the resulting transition marks a significant turning point in the native's experience during that major period. Robert Schmidt identified this loosing of the bond as one of the 4 critical turning points in the releasing scenario, signifying a change in the dynamic of the entire major period. All right. Beyond the loosing of the bond, Schmidt identified 3 additional significant phenomena in the progression of periods. Listen up. When the releasing arrives at the sign containing the Lord of the lot of spirit, this indicates finding one's life's work or vocation. When it arrives at the sign where the ruler when the ruler of the main period is located, this marks a defining event characteristic of the period. So when it arrives at the other sign ruled by the planet governing the main period, this signals a watershed moment or a turning point. Later researchers, particularly the Dutch astrologer Marcian Hermes, added 2 additional turning points. Arrival at signs ruled by planets located in the main period sign, indicating period typical motivations or events, and arrival at signs where malefics oppose or square the domicile ruler of the main period, suggesting possible disruptions or splits in the period's trajectory. So Valens also incorporated what he called eminence factors, conditions within the chart that could elevate the native to prominence or fame during specific releasing periods. And these included the triplicity rulers of the sect light, the sun and day charts, the moon and night charts, and the derivative fortune houses, particularly the fortune midheaven, the 11th house from the part of fortune called acquisition, and the part of exaltation and distinction. When releasing periods activated these factors, the native might experience a rise in social standing, public recognition, or notable achievement. Let's talk about the eclipse and transmission, the decline of Hellenistic astrology. So, with the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire, Hellenistic astrology entered a period of gradual decline. The Church Fathers condemned astrological determinism as incompatible with Christian free will and divine providence. By the 6th and 7th century CE, the great astrological centers of Alexandria and Antioch had been suppressed, and the systematic teaching of techniques like zodiacal releasing had largely ceased in the Latin West. However, the tradition didn't disappear entirely. Greek astrological texts, including Valens' anthology, were preserved in Byzantine libraries, though they were copied primarily as historical documents rather than living instructional manuals. More significantly, Hellenistic astrology found new life in the Persian and Arabic worlds following the Islamic conquests of the 7th and 8th centuries. The Abbasid caliphs of Baghdad sponsored the translation of Greek scientific and astrological texts into Arabic, and techniques derived from the Hellenistic tradition, including various Time Lord methods, were incorporated into the flourishing Arabic astrological tradition. Transmission to India. Parallel to the transmission to the Islamic world, Hellenistic astrology also traveled eastward to India. The Yavana Jataka, Greek horoscopy of, I'm going to butcher that, Svujdi Vaja, composed sometime between the 2nd and 4th century CE, represents a Sanskrit adaptation of Greek astrological teachings. While this text doesn't contain explicit instructions for zodiacal releasing, it demonstrates the broader process of cross-cultural transmission through which Hellenistic astrological concepts reached South Asia. The Melothesia, zodiacal anatomy, found in the Yavana Jataka, illustrates how Greek astrological ideas were syncretized with indigenous Indian traditions. The Greek zodiac was mapped onto the body of the Vedic creator god Prajapati, and its influences were integrated with the caste system, Varna, in Ayurvedic medicine. This pattern of selective adaptation and cultural synthesis likely characterized the transmission of other Hellenistic techniques as well, though the precise pathways remain obscure due to the loss of intermediate texts. Let's talk about the modern recovery, Project Hindsight, and Robert Schmidt. So the most significant development in the modern history of zodiacal releasing began in the 1990s with the founding of Project Hindsight by Robert Schmidt, Robert Hand, and others. This ambitious undertaking sought to translate the surviving corpus of Hellenistic astrological texts directly from the original Greek, making them accessible to English-speaking astrologers for the first time. Previous translations had often passed through Latin or Arabic intermediaries, introducing distortions and misinterpretations. Project Hindsight's commitment to returning to the primary sources revolutionized the study of ancient astrology. It was actually Robert Schmidt who coined the term zodiacal releasing as a translation for the technique described by Valens. The ancient Greek term aphesis literally means sending forth a release, capturing the idea of time being released or sent forth through the signs. Schmidt's terminology has since become standard in English language astrology. So in 2007, Schmidt published an audio tutorial entitled Zodiacal Releasing from Spirit, Charting Career with Hellenistic Astrology, which was groundbreaking in making the technique accessible to a modern astrological audience. This tutorial, based on Schmidt's translations of Valens and his own extensive research into the method's application, provided the first systematic instruction in zodiacal releasing since late antiquity. And let's go over our contemporary practitioners and teachings. So, following Schmidt's pioneering work, several prominent astrologers who have contributed to the dissemination and development of zodiacal releasing. Demetra George, a renowned scholar practitioner of ancient astrology, has taught the technique extensively through her Time Lords retreats and other educational programs or podcast appearances, including a notable episode of the Astrology University podcast. They have introduced the method to a wider audience and contextualized it within the broader framework of Hellenistic Time Lord techniques. Chris Brennan's magisterial work, Hellenistic Astrology, the Study of Fate and Fortune, published in 2017, devotes an entire chapter to zodiacal releasing, Chapter 18, and provides the most comprehensive published treatment of the technique to date. Brennan's book situates zodiacal releasing within the full context of Hellenistic astrological practice, tracing its origins, explaining its mechanics, and demonstrating its application through numerous example charts. So his work, along with that of Schmidt and George, has firmly established zodiacal releasing as a core technique in the revival of Hellenistic astrology. Marcian Hermes, a Dutch astrologer, has made significant contributions to the practical application of zodiacal releasing. His book, Good Times, Bad Times, Prognosis with Zodiacal Aphesis of the Part of the Daemon, originally published in Dutch, applies the technique to modern careers and biographies, demonstrating its continuing relevance. Hermes also identified 2 additional turning points beyond those recognized by Schmidt, further refining the interpretive framework. Let's go over our technological tools. The complexity of zodiacal releasing calculations, requiring multiple levels of nested periods, adjustments for the loosing of the bond, and integration with eminence factors made the technique impractical for everyday use before the computer age. Modern software has changed this dramatically, of course. Programs like Planet Dance, referenced in the technical literature, now automate the calculations, allowing astrologers to generate releasing charts instantly and explore the implications of different starting points and configurations. And we're actually going to use AI in this video to do this. I'm actually getting some ideas on what we're going to do as soon as we finish reading this. So these technological tools have democratized access to zodiacal releasing, enabling a new generation of astrologers like myself who are brave enough to fucking take the fucking roofs, take the chance, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Saturn in Aries, Neptune's in Aries. Who gives a fuck? Who's gonna judge you? Who's gonna laugh at you? They're gonna die. And so are you. These technological tools have democratized access to zodiacal releasing, enabling a new generation of astrologers to engage with the technique without being overwhelmed by its computational demands. However, as the technical literature emphasizes, the software provides only the raw data, Interpretation requires deep understanding of the underlying principles and careful consideration of each native's unique chart. We're going to go through philosophical and practical implications. But man, is this going to be a good video? Because I already have an idea of what we're going to do. And just as an example, how to even show you guys how to do this. Highly advanced, original, conceptual, genius, progressions, perfection, and Zodiacal releasing chart. Oop. I'm going to show you guys something. Annual progressions, perfections. A second. And advanced Hellenistic Zodiacal releasing chart, including following calculations. We'll just say, like, my birth time is 9:53 a.m. Birth location, St. Paul, Minnesota. And our day of birth, February 26, 2005. And then what we're gonna do after I read this, Yoshi. Mario's fun. I need to play some more video games this year, maybe. Or maybe not. It's just a distraction from what my real soul, my actual ego wants to do, which is this. So, Zodiacal releasing, like all Hellenistic Time Lord techniques, raises profound philosophical questions about fate and human agency. The method's precision and apparent determinism might suggest a rigidly fatalistic worldview in which every significant life event is preordained by the configurations at birth. However, the Hellenistic astrologers themselves held nuanced positions on this question. Chris Brennan's Hellenistic astrology devotes considerable attention to the philosophical issues underlying ancient astrological practice, noting that different astrologers adopted different stances on the question of fate. Some, like the Stoics, embraced a thoroughgoing determinism. Others, like Ptolemy, allowed for the modification of astrological influences through human choice and environmental factors. Valens himself seems to have occupied a middle ground, treating the birth chart as revealing the broad contours of fate, while acknowledging that specific outcomes could vary based on circumstances and responses. Zodiacal releasing from this perspective doesn't so much dictate specific events as it reveals periods of heightened potential for certain types of experience. When the releasing arrives at a sign associated with career eminence, for example, the native may have enhanced opportunities for professional advancement, but whether those opportunities are seized depends on countless factors of personal choice and circumstance. So one of the most compelling aspects of Zodiacal releasing is its capacity to reveal the narrative structure of human life. The method divides existence into chapters, the main periods, paragraphs, the subperiods, and sentences, the finer subdivisions, creating a hierarchical framework for understanding how individual experiences fit into larger patterns of meaning. This narrative quality has been emphasized by contemporary teachers like Chris Brennan and Liza Scheim, who have presented detailed workshops on using Zodiacal releasing to identify the story of a client's life. By tracking when different planetary rulers take over the releasing sequence, astrologers can understand why certain themes emerge at particular times, why some periods feel coherent and purposeful while others feel fragmented or chaotic, and how the various threads of a life weave together into a unified whole. The study of Zodiacal releasing also illuminates broader patterns of cross-cultural exchange in the ancient world. The technique emerged from a synthesis of Babylonian, Egyptian, and Greek traditions, was transmitted to the Islamic world and India, and has now been recovered and adapted by Western astrologers working with newly available translations. And that will conclude with this. As we know, the history of Zodiacal releasing is a testament to both the sophistication of ancient astrological thought and the dedication of modern scholars, like myself and you, who have labored to recover it, from its origins in the astrological workshops of Hellenistic Alexandria through its eclipse in the Latin West and preservation in Byzantine and Arabic manuscripts to its recovery by Project Hindsight and elaboration by contemporary practitioners. This technique has demonstrated remarkable resilience and enduring relevance. So what makes zodiacal releasing particularly valuable for the advanced astrologer isn't merely its predictive power, but its capacity to reveal the deep structure of human experience. By mapping the progression of time through the signs and their planetary rulers, the technique discloses patterns of meaning that might otherwise remain invisible, the hidden architecture of fate, the turning points where life takes new directions, the periods of flowering and fruition, and the times of challenge and transformation. For the astrologer seeking to understand not merely what will happen, but why it happens and how individual events fit into the larger narrative of a life, zodiacal releasing offers an unparalleled framework. It is, as its modern practitioners have discovered, one of the most profound gifts of the Hellenistic astrological tradition to the contemporary world. Now what's going to happen is we're going to pull a few little things here that I already talked about. All right. Automate the Western and Vedic calculations. Explore the implications of different starting points and configurations. And we are going to Alright, let's see this. Alright, and in case you guys don't like AI, I suggest you get used to it because it is the future. You will be working with robots whether you like it or not. This is just where we're heading as a country, on Earth. This is where we're heading. So you need to learn to deal with it and, work with it as a tool. Which I don't get how people can't wrap their heads around it, that times are always evolving, times are always changing, and whether we like it or not, things are going to happen. So there's no point in really even holding expectations, really, because you can have your expectations, but what happens when you get disappointed? You know what I mean? So So the AI that I am using is DeepSeek, and personally, it is really good at what it does. I mean, I believe Japan, China, they have more advanced tech than we currently do, which is why people are shitting themselves over ChatGPT and they think it's the next big thing, but really, every other country is more advanced than we are. And that's why we can't stop messing around with them. So, let's talk about this and then we'll close. So this is a DeepSeek report, and it integrates, and this is something that I do for my clients. As a paid client, this is what you would get with me. Details. Alright? Integrating Western annual perfections, Vedic Vimshottari Dasha, Hellenistic zodiacal releasing from the Lot of Fortune. starting with the Western annual profections and the timing of the houses. So for me specifically, I don't know about you, but we would calculate for your current birthday. So for me as a Pisces sun, my year progresses from solar return to solar return. So my current perfected year is age 20. Calculation, since I'm currently 20, my ascendant, which is the first house, progresses 20 signs from my natal Taurus ascendant. Meaning, it goes from Taurus through Gemini, through Cancer, through Leo, through Virgo, through Libra, through Scorpio, through Sag, through Cap, through Aquarius, through Pisces, through Aries. So now the result is what? Aries in the 12th house. And it's my perfected ascendant for the year. With the ruler of Aries, the lord of Aries, curator of Aries is Mars. We can say the sun because yes, it's exalted there, but Mars really is that war planet. Okay, and Aries loves war as an individual. It's a warrior. It's a pioneer. It's someone that knows that they are an individual and they will be respected as such. So essentially, when you have a 12th house perfected ascendant for the year, what happens? Regardless of the sign, when it's in the 12th house, well, the year activates the 12th house, the house of the subconscious mind, isolation, expenses, and foreign lands. And Mars, being the ruler, it's natally placed in my 9th house, exalted in Capricorn, higher learning, long distance travel. So this year, it begins with a theme of winding down or operating behind the scenes. As you can see, I'm in my studio apartment. I'm recording my videos all by myself to my audience of 97 subscribers, who I'm very, very grateful for. I'm drawn to intense research right now in terms of astrology, spiritual practices, and resolving deep-seated psychological matters. Mars rules this year, and it's squaring my natal Jupiter in Libra in the 6th house and opposing Saturn natally in my 3rd house in Cancer, debilitated. So it suggests that my actions this year, Mars, will directly challenge my daily routines and beliefs, Jupiter, and my communication, self-expression, Saturn. So I should expect friction between wanting to expand, Jupiter, and needing to structure, Saturn. And the 12th house activation often precedes a major reveal in the 1st house next year. Let's talk about Vedic Vimshottari Dasha, the results of the planet. So we use the Vedic placements provided. Moon in Virgo, 12 degrees 19. What does it mean? Well, we use nakshatra, birth star calculations. We calculate the current Mahadasha, major period, the current Attarndasha, the sub-period, and the timing. So for example, the nakshatra, birth star, well, moon for me in my Vedic chart is in Asta, Virgo, 10 degrees exactly, through 23 degrees 20, ruled by the moon. In current Mahadasha, major period, moon MD, runs from birth until age 21. Current Antardasha, sub-period, moon Mars, in the timing. The sub-period runs until approximately this month of this year, February 2026. So being in a major period of the moon, the mind and the emotional security are the primary drivers of reality. The sub-period of Mars activates the warrior planet. Then we talk about the configuration. Vedic Mars is in Sag, Purva, Ashtada, Nakshatra. Yes, Purva, Ashada, Nakshatra, in the 8th house of transformation and secrets. The result of this is, well, this Vedic period confirms the Western perfection. The 8th Lord, which is what? Scorpio. And the 3rd Lord, which is what? Aries. Energy of Mars is triggered. I'm currently releasing or transforming my approach to action. It's a karmic urgency to purge old angers or competitive instincts, Mars, to stabilize the mind, which is the moon. Let's talk about Hellenistic zodiacal releasing, the breath of life, the most advanced technique where we calculate the lot of fortune and release it through the Dodeca Demoria, 12th parts, based on the ascendant. We observe the calculation of the lot of fortune, in the Western chart, of course, with our formula, day birth, sun above horizon, for me specifically, the fortune equals the ascendant in the moon subtracting the sun. And then the degrees, okay? Taurus, 23 degrees 55 equals 53.916 degrees. And we add the moon, which is Libra, 6 degrees 14, equaling 186.233 degrees. And we subtract the sun, which is Pisces, 8 degrees 09, and it equals 338.15 degrees. We have AI doing the math. And the result is 240.149 degrees, subtracting 338.15 degrees, and it equals negative 97.991 degrees. Because we don't want any negative numbers, you add 360 degrees, and you get 262.009 degrees for me specifically. So that means that my placement is Sagittarius, 22 degrees 01, and it matches my already provided fortune. The Chaldean Digan, starting the clock. So the chart for me is a day chart. Sun's in the 11th house. Sun in houses 7 through 12. So for day charts, we use the lot of fortune as the primary releasing point. In my POF, it's at 22 degrees 01 Sag, and it's in the third decan of Sag, 20 degrees through 30 degrees, ruled by the sun. And this indicates my releasing path is filtered through leadership, vitality, and self. Let's talk about zodiacal releasing from fortune. So it comes through levels. Like the first level one is years. We look at the sequence of signs starting from the lot of fortune, which would be Sagittarius, moving through the signs in Chaldean order. So my current period, age 20, I'm currently releasing through the sign of Gemini, the twins, right? Why? Well, the sequence is Sagittarius, which is the first, through Capricorn comes the second, Aquarius, third, Pisces, fourth, Aries, fifth, Taurus, sixth, and Gemini, seventh. So the sub-period, within this Gemini period, I'm in the sub-period of Cancer. The conceptual interpretation of zodiacal releasing at age 20. So the breath, I'm in a Gemini breath of my life, and this is a time of learning, communication, and gathering information. It's light, dualistic, and curious. So the sub-releasing for me is in Cancer. So the sub-period of Cancer activates the fourth house naturally, of home, foundation, parents, emotional core from the lot. Now we talk about implications of the specific configuration. So what is a Gemini period? Well, with my fortune in Sag, a Gemini period brings in the axis of learning, expecting significant movements involving siblings, neighbors, riding, or short trips. My identity, which is the fortune, is expressed through intellect. Let's talk about the Cancer subperiod. Since Cancer rules the fourth house, and my natal fourth house is at 29 degrees 34 Cancer, the aneretic degree, it's explosive. The subperiod suggests a major foundational shift. My emotional security, which is moon in the Vedic chart, is being rehoused. And now let's talk about fixed stars, fixed star alert. So my fourth house cusp, I see, I moon Kolai, it conjoins the fixed star Procyon, which is at 25 degrees 51 Cancer. Now in the zodiacal releasing subperiod of Cancer, this brings sudden good fortune through risk, but also a contentious domestic environment. With Saturn retrograde in the third house, there may be a karmic separation or responsibility regarding a sibling or a neighbor that reshapes the home life. Now we observe, and we're almost finished, we're actually going to observe the three systems converging. So again, this is what I would give my clients, more in-depth analysis on their chart and their future. However they want to interpret it is up to them. But the three systems converging. So at 20 years old, the advanced techniques all point to a single nexus. Western profection, 12th house Aries, ruled by Mars in the 9th. Vedic dasha, Moon Mars, Mars in the 8th. Zodiacal releasing, Fortune in Gemini, 7th release. Sub in Cancer, 4th house matters. So I'm undergoing a hermetic retreat. The 12th house profection suggests the outer world is quieting down. The Vedic Moon Mars period stirs a deep subconscious drive, Moon in Virgo, analytical anxiety to take action. Mars regarding my philosophical and educational path. 9th house or shared resources, 8th house. And simultaneously, the Zodiacal releasing indicates that the purpose of this retreat, Fortune in Cancer subperiod, is to rebuild my emotional foundation. The tension between the 4th Cancer subperiod and the 12th profection suggests I'm building a private sanctuary. The anaretic 4th house cusp indicates that this is a make or break moment for my living situation or family dynamics. I already moved out. But I'm not merely subject to these cycles, and neither are you. I'm the intersection point just like you in your own chart. The high number of fixed stars I have in the 6th house, Spica, Arcturus, in my Western chart indicate that my daily work and health routines are the vessels for my genius. As I navigate the 12th house year, the vertex in Libra exactly conjunct Jupiter in the 6th suggests a fated encounter through work or service that provides the release valve for the pressure built up by the Mars squares. My job is to observe the collapse of old structures, Saturn in 3rd opposing Mars, so that the new foundation, Cancer subperiod, can be laid. Thank you for watching this video. With peace and love, subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll see you in the next one talking more astrology.